Hello, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to yet another edition of Paradigm Shift in Educational Comedy. I'm literally running on coffee and good intentions this morning, and I've been up all night doing some cleaning and stuff, as you can see. And hey, especially because the political landscape has been, well, a lot of politically correct BS lately. I'm guessing that, if anybody's watching this and wants to nitpick about mid-cleaning mess back there, then if that's the best thing that they have to bash me on, then they're probably a narcissist. Anyway, first, I would like to let you all know what's prompting this video. First, a few days ago, give or take, came across a video by a really cool YouTuber by the name of Missa, who basically was upset that, she was getting attacked by SJWs, and her original video was titled something to the effect of, should I be nice to SJWs? Because she's generally, a nice person, very tactful. She doesn't even typically swear in her videos at all. I mean, I'm not saying that swearing makes someone not nice or whatever. I mean, I swear when I feel it's appropriate to do so. I don't think there's anything good, bad, right, or wrong about it. I think when used appropriately, it's fine. But she doesn't typically like swearing or being snarky or whatever, and that's cool. More power to her. I admit that when, they're swearing in a video, it can definitely limit your audience. It's not exactly a PG kind of thing, but, that's all good. Different strokes for different folks. But her being a generally nice, awesome, wonderful person and, trying to conduct herself in the most respectful manner possible, even with people that are disagreeing with her and getting irate with her, well, she kind of had a straw that broke the camel's back sort of moment. She kind of put out a video like, should I be nice to these people, even when they're being this nasty with me? And it's definitely not a one-size-fits-all, t-shirt kind of answer, because reality is a cake, not a light switch. In other words, in life, every situation has its own configuration of variables, its own ingredients that, whatever proportion those ingredients are in, kind of make up the overall cake of the situation, metaphorically speaking. Or as the old saying goes, the right tool for the right job. So it really depends on the particular type of narcissism that is, being launched at you, obviously. Prince of Queens, another really cool YouTuber, he made a video that, for all intents and purposes, is basically saying what I'm about to say, his own way of saying it. But I'm kind of going, excuse me, tired, can't speak this morning. So yeah, I'm going to go into a little bit of extra detail, but I'm going to try to keep this video as short as possible. Now, I'm a long-winded bastard, so I'm not promising that this video will be short. May end up being short. If you get really lucky, you probably won't get that lucky, but it'll be at least as short as I can manage to keep it at any rate. So, it really kind of depends on the situation. And the first the piece of advice, suggestion, or whatever you want to call it, that I can give on these sort of things is the first key. You have to kind of set and you have to use a lot of metaphor. Excuse me, that's the way I get my points across. You have to establish the foundation of your state of being, because that's what everything else is going to come forth from. In other words, if you allow yourself to be emotionally co-opted by narcissists, and narcissists do their best to emotionally co-opt people, The common term for that process is called gaslighting. And they usually come in pretty hard on it. So you have to genuinely make sure that your fuck bank's in the negative, not being the giver of fucks about it. I don't mean that in like a negative, cocky, like 12-year-old way, like I don't care. That's kind of pretending not to give a fuck when really, yeah, you totally give a fuck, because they're steaming like, you know. In my opinion, the way to genuinely not give a fuck in the positive context, not like the bitchy, whiny, throwing a tantrum, going, I don't care context, is to understand that a rattlesnake is not a kitten. You know what I mean? Things, people, etc. are what they are. You didn't cause that. You didn't create that. That's not your fault. And there's really nothing you can do that can magically turn a rattlesnake into a kitten. So there's nothing you can do to magically turn a narcissist into a non-narcissist. Narcissists are unreasonable. So the more narcissistic somebody is, the less logic and reason will have any kind of effect whatsoever. So when you can make peace with the fact that some people just aren't happy unless they just aren't happy, and know that it's not your fault, and also know that as per freedom and liberty in this country, they have the right to think what they think, feel how they feel, express how they express, etc., just like you do, then it'll make things much easier for you. Obviously, what they do not have the right to do is harass the living shit out of you, because that is actually an abridgment of freedom of, speech and expression. That's somebody attempting to railroad your rights to freedom of speech and expression, and that's totally not cool. That's kind of why I use the euphemism of, the rattlesnake. And even a rattlesnake, even a rattlesnake doesn't attack completely unprovoked, whereas a narcissist kind of will attack completely unprovoked. But you understand the metaphor here. So obviously, as long as your foundation is in that state of rational calm, where you're thinking, all right, I'm not obligated to let this person bother me, like I can be annoyed by what they're doing, I can dislike it, I can have some concern, is this person going to be a problem? I might not really be in the mood for this person, whatever, but not allowing it to emotionally co-opt you and get you fuming, that's like step one, because a narcissist is banking on you being emotionally co-opted and getting you as fumed as possible. Because the more co-opted you are, the more mind fog you have, the more you're kind of in an offended rage. It's easier for the narcissist to gaslight you and get reactions out of you, and you're basically feeding the troll, and that's not something that is advisable. Now, obviously, it takes practice in order to build yourself up to that point. I'm not suggesting anybody use any sort of fake positive affirmations like, oh, I'm not going to let the narcissist bother me. Nope, 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 nope. I'm better than that. I'm a better person. Do, 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 do. Because then, like, when you're doing fake affirmations, and what you're doing is you're taking a big, deep sea of negativity and just kind of being in denial about it and coating it with like this thin layer of positivity. And a narcissist can quickly and easily punch a hole through that layer, and then your emotions get all like Mount Vesuvius and you spew all over the place, and then yep, that's the reaction they're looking for, and they've nailed you. So obviously, I'm not suggesting anybody pretend to be positive as a tactic, because if you're not genuinely viewing it, if you're not genuinely viewing the negative as a positive opportunity for positive change, to give yourself the opportunity to show you that you can calmly stand in your in your sovereignty and really make that decision that, like, nah, I'm not going to let them emotionally co-opt me. They're totally not worth it. They're not worth the mental and emotional energy. And of course, it's also important in that process, in my opinion, that you totally allow yourself to feel how you feel. Feel annoyed, feel mad, feel whatever negative emotions that you need to feel at the time. I mean, negative emotions aren't bad. They're a part of being human. It's just a matter of choosing, what's going to be your authority. The state of being that you prefer to navigate a negative situation with, or do you want being triggered to high holy L to be that authority over you, so that the narcissist can lock you in, right where they want you. So it's kind of about making that kind of choice. Now, once you get to that point, once you're calm, you don't have the stress hormone running out of your hypothalamus going through you, driving you crazy, and the prefrontal cortex and the frontal lobe can work in conjunction to analyze things wisely, calmly, and be able to make calm, wise, rational, free will choice decisions. Once you're at that point, then you're able to use the discernment as to how to deal with narcissists. And in the original videos that I had seen, from Missa Missa and Prince of Queens, and noticing like all the different comments on those videos, some people were saying that, well, let the other person determine how you're going to treat them. Like, well, if they're being a raging asshole, then be a raging asshole back, so on and so forth. And though sometimes that is a completely legit response, depending on the situation, it should never, in my opinion, it should never be used as a one-size-fits-all kind of t-shirt, because doing that, in my opinion, is, being emotionally co-opted, and you're just going to feed the troll. So, it's definitely good in some situations, but not in all situations. Other people recommend the kill them with kindness approach, which for most narcissists works about 8 times out of 10. Because again, like I said, they're wanting to get that rise out of you, right? And if they can't get that rise out of you, you're just maintaining politeness no matter what, you're kind of turning the tables and fucking with them. But again, you have to do this genuinely. You can't pretend to be kind. You can't use it as a strategy. You have to deeply, legitimately feel like, okay, being kind is actually what I want to do. It's not a tactic. It's really, honest to God, how I want to handle the situation. Because if you try to use it as a fake BS tactic, then a narcissist is going to pop that bubble really easily. You're going to implode, and you're going to be revealed as just using it as a tactic. And then once the narcissist discovered that that's nothing more than a tactic, they're going to gaslight your ass on it, and they're going to call you fake and this and that and so on and so forth. So that's not going to work too well. Everything that you do, regardless of what you pick, how to handle the situation, it's got to come from a state of genuine authenticity. You've really got to feel what you're saying. Otherwise, if you're just putting up a BS front, then it's easy to pop. But of course, killing them with kindness is not always the way to go. So the other, shall we say, for lack of a better way of saying it, another positivity state that isn't necessarily kindness, but it's still a positivity state, is lighthearted, politically incorrect humor. When you see that somebody is not going to be rational whatsoever, and you know that trying to use any form of logic or reason on them is just going to be a completely freaking lost cause, I like to get extremely silly. And, those of you who have, seen me and gotten to know me enough to where, and especially like in places like DeviantArt, Facebook, so on and so forth, those of you who have seen me interact with narcissists in this way. I mean, I get pretty freaking silly. Like, I've been accused of every freaking stupid, outrageous thing you've ever and never heard of. And one thing that I like to playfully do is kind of own the insult. How can I put this? Like, I'm just going to give you a hypothetical here. Like, if someone were to tell me, like, okay, I want to try to think of just a really good example so this doesn't sound completely freaking lame, because I'm kind of tired here. Let's see here. Oh man, am I that tired that I can't? I mean, I've had this happen to me so many freaking times. What is a freaking good one here? Why can I not think of this? Am I that tired? The obvious answer, yes, I legitimately am that freaking tired. Okay, I got it. There was this one person on Facebook one time. This is a political discussion, you know, and I was basically posting on the topic of, you know, I really don't like all this division crap, you know, even like, you know, within all these different groups and movements and things that are supposedly benevolent and whatever. And, you know, they're well intended and whatever, but because movements typically tend to devolve into groupthink, even if they're originally benevolent and well intended, there ends up being a lot of infighting. Whether you're talking about political groups or activist groups or religious group denominations, like there's over 40,000 denominations of Christianity just in and of itself. So you've got Christianity divided, all the groups infighting. Then within each groups, you've got divisions, you know, subgroups in that. It's really lame. So yeah. You know, I was just explaining about how I don't like the whole division thing. Like, you know, humanity kind of needs to unite right now, because we've allowed the whole planet to be run by what? Oh yeah, raging frickin' narcissists. Yeah, vote for male narcissist Trump or female narcissist Hillary, both of which are connected to Wall Street. Oh, crap. You know, it's like the non-choice. Yeah. So it's like, you know, I was going into that sort of stuff, and, you know, this guy like starts accusing me of acting whiny and entitled and this and that, and saying that, oh, you know, you're trying to force your opinions on everybody and da 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 da. It's like, no, I'm just stating my opinion on a topic. I'm doing it on my own Facebook profile, and it's like nobody's obligated to watch my Facebook profile or to give two shits about anything I say. I'm not, you know, invading other people's profiles and posting this stuff. You know, I mean, everybody has the right to post whatever their opinions are on their own profiles. And if you don't like somebody's opinion, don't watch their freaking profile, right? Should be common logical sense, but to a narcissist, there's not much that's common logical sense to a freaking narcissist. So in that particular instance, I had tried logic, none of it was working, and this person started resorting to all these insane ad hominem attacks. As a matter of fact, he even tried, you know, even jumped on my dad on there and started saying, claiming that my dad wasn't a real Vietnam vet and that it's stolen valor and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh, really? And your proof is where? Because, you know, the burden of proof is on the accuser, not the accused, right? So anyway, this guy was getting totally ridiculous. So I was owning every insult, just being like, oh yeah, totally, you're so right, and then like I would insert these like insane reasonings, as well, lack of reasonings, I'm being silly obviously, but you know, these insane explanations as to why I think he's right. Like, well, you're so right because you're an omniscient deity. heaven sent from source energy, God, just come to bless the earth with your beneficence, and you're so right, you're so wonderful. I'm humbled by your presence. I really want to learn the benevolence of your wisdom, so that one day I can just grow up to be as frickin' wise as you. Oh, master, teach me. So it's like that kind of thing. So sometimes doing that will work, and again, when you're doing that, you legitimately have to be in the mindset of, yeah, I'm in the mood to have fun and be playful like that. So again, it can't be used as a fake tactic. If you are not in a legitimately playful mood when you act playful, then, the narcissist, again, gonna pop that bubble, and, everything's just gonna collapse in, and they're gonna have even more ammunition against you. Now, there's other times, of course, when narcissists are just completely hardcore, and, they really need to be told, look, dude, you need to go play a game of hide and go fuck yourself, because what you're doing is borderline harassment. It's not freaking cool, So, there are times when you definitely need to take a bit more of an aggressive stand against tyranny, obviously. So, the basic answer to these, to this question is, it really depends on the circumstance. And in order to have the discernment for, what sort of response that you're going to need to make, you have to kind of have that calm mind and inner peace, while simultaneously allowing yourself to feel annoyed, angry, whatever it is, however you feel. Emotional repression is another form of, self-sabotage and co-opting. And if you repress your emotion, it's kind of like overfilling the car tire, right? Eventually, it's going to reach capacity, and boom. So, never do the emotional repression thing. That's just, no end of problems. So, yeah. And then, of course, recently, there was a video I watched by a couple of other really awesome YouTubers, Liz Reptile and, oh, how in the heck do you pronounce this guy's name? I always get this wrong unless I look at it and read it, but if I try to recall it from memory, my brain just goes because it's not a common name. Zephanorian, spelled Zephanorion, or I guess you could kind of pronounce it as Zephan Orion as well, because the last part is Orion. So Zephanorian or Zephan Orion, I suppose either way is technically correct. So him and Liz Reptile were kind of doing a joint video thing to where Liz Reptile just got out of this really nasty situation with a raging narcissist that not only was this, YouTube drama, but also in-person drama too, that also led to real, actual, physical violence. And when you're dealing in person, with someone who's physically violent, obviously none of the lighthearted, playful tactics are going to work at all. Got to remain as calm as you can and use as good of discernment as possible and do whatever the hell it is you need to do to defend yourself against, that kind of harm. Because, like, when things are getting physical and shit, that is just, like, not cool. That's a dangerous situation. In most cases, I think you're definitely going to want to get police involved. So, yeah, Liz Reptile was, the focus of a narcissist in this very physical, in-person sort of way. And her and Zephanorian, they have, a video up about it and so on and so forth. It's like a 48-minute long video or something. And the primary reason that they posted it to YouTube, it wasn't like to create drama or anything, or to bring their own interpersonal bullshit to the internet. It's because this narcissist was not only doing this bullshit to her, but this narcissist was also on YouTube, like scamming a lot of people, like a money scam. We're talking about like some legit Ponzi fraud kind of shit. So totally not cool. So yeah, if you want to know more about that, you can watch their video on that. And so yeah, that's why, you know, they ended up deciding to make this public, because it wasn't just about Liz Reptile. This person, you know, was scamming lots of other YouTubers in the process of this. And obviously, when there is a serious danger from scammers and, you know, so on and so forth, it's obviously both the brave and the mature thing to do to you know, bring this to public attention, so that, you know, other people don't fall prey, you know, to these sorts of scams. So you know, props to Liz Reptile and Zephanorian for handling the situation in a manner that I feel was very professional, very tactful, very matter-of-factly. There was no ad hominem attacks or anything like that. They stayed on point, just to the facts. Their video was not about bashing this person. The video was about the public safety of the YouTube community. So I think that was very well done. Props to them both, and, you know, my condolences to them both for the, you know, the situation that they were in, and that really sucks. And, you know, it's a shame that, you know, there's abusive people out there that are not only money scamming people online, but also, you know, being physically and otherwise abusive, and, you know, a knock on wood, you know, physical reality situation. So totally not cool. So yeah, anybody out there who's been dealing with, you know, some form of narcissist or another, whether it's SJWs or, you know, people, you know, somewhere in the vicinity in their quote unquote physical reality life, or whatever the situation is. I mean, there's a ton of different situations that could possibly happen, because that's life, right? So yeah, anybody who's been dealing with that, I hope I have provided, you know, some useful information. Of course, everything out of my mouth is obviously just my opinion, just my perspective. Even when I claim something is a fact, I still deem even that as just my opinion, because regardless of what objective facts are or not, humans can only view objective facts through the biased subjective filter of their life experience. And, you know, that's not necessarily good, bad, or anywhere in between. Sometimes it can be a good thing, sometimes it could be a bad thing, depending on the life experience of the filter, you know. But just saying, I'm human like everybody else. I'm no one's authority, just an equal human being to all of you. So never blindly believe anyone, including me, especially me. I'm not always right. Sometimes I'm wrong. And when I'm wrong, you know, when somebody can tell me and actually prove it, and not just throw narcissistic ad hominem attacks at me, then I'm more than happy to look at the data. And if I'm wrong, accept the correction and be like, hey guys, you know what? This thing I said, I was completely wrong. You know, so I don't mind admitting that. That's, you know, trial and error learning. It's a part of, you know, the normal human process. And, you know, belief is I'm going to break down belief and disbelief, because they are both technically forms of belief. Whereas when we use the word belief, it's like a, you know, blind belief in something that we think is, whereas blind disbelief is a blind belief in something that we think isn't. Either way, it's blind in either case. So always question everything. Always do research. Always think critically. Always come to your own conclusions. And as long as you do that, like, that's cool. It doesn't bother me if someone has a different opinion than me. You know, I might say this, that, or whatever about whatever, and as long as someone's thinking critically and actually making up their own mind, and they're not just headline reading or jumping to conclusions. So even within that process, if they decide that, well, you know, based on the data I've looked at, you know, I don't really agree with Dave Kelso on paradigm shift in educational comedy. I kind of have a completely different opinion. Well, as long as that process involves critical thinking, then that's cool. You know, no human agrees with any other human on absolutely everything. You know, everybody has different perspectives, and that's completely cool and valid, and as it should be. So, you know, believe nothing, disbelieve nothing, question everything. And if a narcissist tries to gaslight you and say you're some arrogant, disrespectful prick for, you know, having the audacity to question, well, you can tell them that Dave Kelso of Paradigm Shift and Educational Comedy suggests that they play a game of hide and go fuck themselves. So, hope you have enjoyed this. Peace out. Hope y'all have a good morning, day, night, whatever it is in your corner of the world. And catch you later. Shadowlay, praise keck, and all that good stuff. Fuck political correctness, and see you next time.